There's a particular kind of grief nobody really talks about. Not a breakup, not a death. The slow disappearance of a friend you never stopped loving. You didn't fight. Nothing dramatic happened. Life just moved. And one day you realized you hadn't spoken in 2 years, and reaching out now felt strangely impossible. We tell ourselves we grew apart, as if it were something that just happens to us. But growing apart isn't an explanation. It's what we say instead of one. The real reason friendships fade is surprisingly specific. And once you understand it, you'll see that most of the ones you lost you could have kept. Here's a finding that's a little humbling. Back in 1953, researchers, Festinger, Schachter, and Back, studied who became friends in a housing complex. And the single biggest predictor wasn't shared values, or personality, or some deep spark. It was who lived closest. Your next-door neighbor, far more than the person at the end of the hall. Pure physical proximity. Think about what that means for the friendships you've lost. That incredible bond with your college roommate, your old coworker, the friend from your last city. A huge part of what built it was simply being near each other over and over with no effort required. And the moment that proximity vanished, someone moved, changed jobs, had a kid, the friendship lost the very thing that was quietly keeping it alive. It wasn't a failure of love. It was a failure of logistics. So how much does a real friendship actually cost? Jeffrey Hall at the University of Kansas in 2018 did the math. To go from acquaintance to casual friend takes around 50 hours together. To reach genuine close friendship, around 200 hours. 200 hours of actual shared time. Meals, conversations, long pointless hangouts where nothing in particular happens. Now hold that number against the reality of adult life. Between work, commuting, family, and sheer exhaustion, when exactly are two adults supposed to accumulate 200 hours? They mostly don't. And that's the quiet tragedy of adult friendship. It's not that grown-ups care less. It's that the structure that used to hand us those hours for free school, the dorm, the old neighborhood just disappeared. The hours got expensive and most of us stopped paying. But hours alone don't make a friendship deep. We all have people we've spent hundreds of hours beside and barely know. So what's the real ingredient? In 1997, a psychologist named Arthur Aaron ran a now-famous experiment. He gave pairs of strangers a list of 36 questions that escalated slowly from surface to deeply personal. And within 45 minutes, some of these strangers felt closer to each other than to people they'd known for years. The mechanism is something researchers call vulnerability escalation. You share something a little real, the other person receives it kindly and shares back, and each round builds a quiet proof. I can be open with this person and I won't be hurt for it. That back and forth is what actually forges a bond. And the beautiful part, you don't need a list of 36 questions. You just need to be the one brave enough to go slightly deeper first. Now here's the thing that ends more friendships than any argument ever could. Imbalance. When one person is always the one reaching out, always texting first, always planning, always carrying it. Research on friendship maintenance shows people will tolerate this for a surprisingly long time, especially if a friend is going through something hard. But there's a limit, and when it's crossed, one of two things happens. The overinvesting friend slowly fills with quiet resentment. Or, more often, they just get tired, and gently, without announcement, they stop reaching. And the friendship dies not in a fight, but in the silence after someone finally stopped being the only one trying. Lasting friendships aren't the effortless ones. They're the ones where both people, across the years, keep choosing to pick up the rope. I want to end with the part that genuinely surprised me. Research on rekindling old friendships found something that should give you a little courage. We dramatically overestimate how awkward it will be to reach back out, and dramatically underestimate how happy the other person will be to hear from us. That friend you lost to nothing but logistics? They very likely think about you too. They've probably hesitated for the exact same reason you have, the fear that too much time has passed, that it'd be weird. It almost never is. A message that simply says I was thinking about you, how are you, is, in study after study, received with far more warmth than the sender expected. The hours got expensive, but the door, in most cases, never actually closed. You just have to be willing to knock. Friendship doesn't fade because people stop caring. It fades because the scaffolding fell away and nobody rebuilt it on purpose. The good news hiding in all this research is that it's almost entirely fixable. With proximity you create deliberately, hours you actually spend, and the courage to go first. Next video, we turn to the other side of all this. What happens to a human being when the connection isn't there at all? The psychology of loneliness, and why it does far more to us than just feel bad. Subscribe. This is Mind.